Oh, he doesn't want to give up. Here we go, here we go. This time. Nope. No, still doesn't want to give up. Proper angry fish, this one. Right guys, before we get into this video, I just remembered whilst I've been editing it for you that I need to announce the winner of the competition for the sunlessa head torch, which I announced a couple of videos ago. So what I've done is I've gone onto my YouTube account and I've found my recent subscribers, and I've scrolled through and just randomly picked one, and the winner is, I'm pleased to announce, Davey Steensons. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. So Davey, if you are watching the video, please leave a comment below with how I can get in touch with you. I'll try and find you on Facebook and Instagram and that sort of thing, but send me a message if you see this video and I'll get your prize off to you. So well done, mate. Now stay tuned for the rest of the video, it's going to be a good one, and make sure you subscribe because we've got another competition coming soon just before Christmas. Well, hello and welcome to another video. This video should be an interesting one. I want to prove to you that your rig doesn't really matter, and it's more about where you put it and what you feed the fish. So what I've got is 6 rigs, the most popular sort of wafter bottom bait presentations that I can think of, and I'm going to fish them against each other while trying to catch on each one. I did this before for pop-up rigs. If you look on my channel, I've got the pop-up rig challenge. So this video, if you like, is going to be the bottom bait or wafter rig challenge. I'm basically going to fish with 6 rigs on the same spot at the same distance, over the same bait with the same hook bait and everything, and just try and prove to you that all these rigs work. And it's more about where you put them and what bait you give the fish. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the rigs that I'm using, talk to you through the sort of hook baits and the loose feed that I'm using and everything. Then we're going to get the rods out and hopefully we'll catch a few fish. So what we've got on my rig tray here is 6 of the most popular rigs that I can think of for kind of bottom bait and wafter fishing. All the hook baits are the same, so I've got an amino ester bottom bait tipped with half a yellow SS1 pop-up. And the rigs left to right, I've got the slip D rig, which was invented by Martin Clark. Really cool rig. You've got that sort of sliding D on the shank there, and each rig you'll notice has got a blob of putty in the middle, which just helps kick it away from the lead and sort of lay flat on the bottom. So to make it fair, all the rigs are the same length and they've all got a blob of putty. So we've got the slip D rig there. We've got Danny Fairbrass's kind of D rig there, the sort of IQ D rig I think you call it. But that is, you know, essentially a D rig on the shank. With a sort of a stiff-ish material. I've got the Amnesia there, which is just like a mono really. Next to that, if we don't lose that rig, next to that we've got another D rig, but this time the D is a bit closer to the eye of the hook. Some people call that the clone rig, some people just call it a stiff D rig. Essentially very similar to the sort of Danny Fairbrass rig next to it there, except that the D is a bit nearer to the eye, and we've got an outturned eye hook there just to allow the mono to exit at the right angle. Next to that we've got a KD rig, which is basically a knotless knot, but the hair just exits out of the whipping there rather than the end of the whipping, and that allows the hook to drop down a bit more in the carp's mouth, supposedly. my favourite rig here, which is a Bog Standard blowback rig. So it's just a knotless knot, but you've got a ring on the shank and you've got a shrink tube kicker, which I think just helps the rig to turn when the fish picks it up and moves away. And finally, probably the most famous rig of all time is just a Bog Standard hair rig. So I've literally got a knotless knot to a size 5 wide cape style hook there, and that is it. There's no extra bits on that rig at all. So what I want to try and prove to you on this session is that all of these rigs do work, and it's more about finding what you're confident in tying, what you find easy enough to tie, and what you catch on will give you confidence, and then just stick with it. You don't need to keep chopping and changing rigs, and if you blank, it probably wasn't down to your rig, it was more likely down to your location or your presentation. You know, it might have been tangled, you might not have fished on the right spot, so it's sunk into the bottom, or it was in weed or something like that, or simply the fish weren't there. You've got to make sure you find the fish. So here we go, I'm going to get these out. So I'm going to fish 3 to start with. I'll probably do the slip D rig against the Danny Fairbrass sort of D rig there, and also the clone rig, which is another D rig. I thought I'll put all 3 D rigs out to start with, just to get us started really. And each one is going out with one of these mesh stringers there, which is simply 3 amino ester boilies in a mesh bag with a little fuse on the end to allow me to wrap it around the hook, stopping it tangling. And all of them are going out the same. I'll do the first 3, and then once I catch on one, I'll swap for a different rig and attempt to catch on that as well. So I've got to catch 6 fish today, and it's only a day session, so yeah, it's a tall order, but I've got some bait out when I got here, and I've left that for about 40 minutes now, so I'm hoping the fish have found that and got on it. There's a bit of crosswind, and I've actually fed the margin at the end of the lake where the wind is hitting, and so I'm hoping that the fish have kind of followed that wind. They're going to get on that margin and they're going to find that bait that I've put out, so hopefully it won't be too long before we have a fish. So let's get the first 3 rods out and see what happens.
Behind my eyes, lean towards the color that lies within. Nothing between you and I. Still you right there under my skin. I've been
Right, so that's the first 3 rods out now, all on the little baited area. So what I did was, when I got here, I just wrapped up the spod rod at 10 wraps, which I know is about roughly the distance to that sort of far margin. Well, it's kind of like the end margin of the lake, and I'm sort of at the other corner casting across. So yeah, I wrapped up the spod rod at 10 wraps and put out a mix of my bait. So what I've got basically is some particles. So I've got some maize, some tigers, and some maple peas with hemp, all from Cheshire Particles. Then I've put into that some amino ester boilies and some sweet corn as well, and then some liquids. I've got the hydronut haze and some hemp oil in there, bit of salt as well, all mixed up. Nice and really nice mix, that nice and attractive, lots of different sizes and colours and stuff. And I've spommed out sort of 6 or 7 spoms of that when I got here, just to sort of kick-start the swim really. And then whilst I was doing everything else and getting set up, hopefully the fish are finding that and getting sorted. The reason I've cast to that end margin is, I think I said earlier, the wind is just trickling down there nicely. We've got sort of 20 miles an hour sort of westerly winds today, and it's just blowing nicely down to that end margin. And so, you know, what more can you ask for really at this time of year? We've got a nice warm wind. It's about 16 degrees, we're in October, and I'm just sure those fish are going to be on the end of that wind, so that's why I've gone there. So what I've done is I've got my first 3 rods out now. I've got my slip D rig, I've got the DF sort of long D rig, the sort of IQ D rig if you like, and the clone rig, which is just like the sort of D rig that's on the back of the eye there. So all 3 of those are out now on the baited area. and they've all got the same hook baits, the amino ester bottom bait with half an SS1 pop-up, just to give it a little bit of buoyancy, so it's more of a wafter presentation really, and hopefully the fish are going to find that bait and come in and pick up those hook baits. The yellow colour is just to sort of match the corn and stuff that's in the mix, and hopefully that little bit of buoyancy just helps them suck it up and get caught out that little bit easier. So all I'm trying to do on this session is not prove which rigs are better than other rigs. I'm just trying to prove that they all do work, and it's more about where you put them and your kind of bait application and hook bait choices and things like that. It may be that I've got it wrong on this session, and maybe matching the hatch with a dull coloured bait will be better because we are in autumn, but I do think with the corn in the mix and all that, trying to match that with the yellow half pop-ups on top is a good idea, but time will tell, so that's all I can do for now, guys. I'm just going to be waiting, having a coffee or something, and maybe a bit of lunch, because time is ticking. I've only got about 6 or 7 hours to catch on this session. It is a fairly easy lake, but 6 fish in a day, in a short day, is quite a tall order, but we'll see what happens. The rods are out, and going to stick the kettle on, and yeah, hopefully next time I speak to you, I'll be holding a fish. Right guys, we've had a take. Can't remember which rig we're on at the moment. It's swimming straight towards me. Yeah, I can't remember what rig that was on, but yeah, the middle rod. I will tell you the rig once I get the fish in. It'd be interesting to see what the hook hold's like. So I'll be looking at that on any fish that I catch as well, because you can always judge how good a rig is by the hook hold as well. Obviously if I lose any fish, that kind of tells me that the rig's not that good as well. Come on. Right guys, I just wanted to show you the hook hold on this fish. So this is the IQ D rig, and the hook hold is actually, well, it's started off kind of in the middle of the fish's mouth there, and it's actually pulled out of there and gone into the corner. I think that's just unlucky really, because to be fair, that was a good place it hooked initially, but unfortunately it's kind of torn out of there, and then I've been quite lucky to get it in the corner of the mouth and land the fish. But anyway, that proves that that rig works, and I've just recast. And I think it's just a bog standard hair rig that I've put out there in this rig's place. So this rig is done for the day. It's done its job. Let's just get this fish up and show you quickly. Alright guys, so the first fish of the day, which is on the IQD rig. Only a small one, but really lovely and scaly, and quite nice and dark as well, so be a good fish in a few years, this one. But yeah, nice to be off the mark. Yeah, it proves that rig works. So I've got the rod back out on a bog standard hair rig this time, and yeah, let's see what else comes along. Right guys, there's the rig there that caught this fish. It's the slip D rig. Came out in the net, but yeah, landed the fish, so all good. First fish I've ever had on a slip D rig. Let's have a look where it was hooked. So if you look in the mouth there, you can see quite clearly it was hooked very nicely about an inch back, somewhere in the middle, so that is a good hook hold, quite similar to the other rig that I caught the fish on, except that one slipped out and got in the corner of its mouth, but yeah, pretty happy with that. Unfortunately it came out in the net, but that's what happens sometimes once the line goes slack. But there you go, let's get it up and have a look. Right guys, fish number 2. It's this nice little common, again around the double figures mark. Take on the slip D rig with that half a SS1 pop-up and the amino ester hook bait. So that's 2 rigs that have worked now. So I've just cast out my rod again, and this time it's gone out with the KD rig, I think. So still got 3 rods out there fishing on different rigs, and 2 rigs have done the job, so they're not going out again after this. So yeah, let's get this fish back, and hopefully there'll be a few more to come. Right guys, we're into another fish. Let's come off. Right, so it's mid-afternoon now guys, and as you've just seen there, I've just lost a fish. That was the 3rd take of the day, and unfortunately it fell off. And interestingly enough, the rig that it was on was just a Bog Standard Hair Rig. Now obviously that rig is effective and it's worked for many years since it was first invented, but I think the way rigs have evolved over the years, and you know, little additions such as shrink tube kickers and things like that do help to improve your rigs. So it is worth kind of looking at rig mechanics and testing out lots of different rigs in this way as I am today, because it's helping me sort of make my mind up over which rig I want to use going forwards. And I think a Bog Standard Hair Rig perhaps is a little bit too basic, and as you've just seen, I've lost a fish there, which perhaps might not have happened on my normal kind of blowback rig, which is the one that I like to use most of the time. So yeah, interesting really. Hopefully there's time for a few more fish. So I've got my 3 rigs out. So at the moment I've currently got a KD rig out there. I've got the clone rig, or the sort of D rig, which is like the amnesia material, and then the other rig is just a blowback rig, and then, you know, my hair rig that I just lost that fish on, I'm going to keep that out now because there's not enough time to kind of keep testing that rig. I think that sort of played its part today and proved that, you know, it does work, but unfortunately I lost the fish and it's a bit unlucky, but you know, I want percentages in my favour, so perhaps wouldn't use a basic hair rig again, and perhaps have like the hair a little bit further around the shank or something like that, just to help that hook get a good hook hold. So so yeah, we've got the 3 rigs out. It's all still to play for really, but it's interesting so far what's happened, and yeah, there's time for a few more yet, so let's see what happens.
Behind my eyes, lean towards the color that lies within. Nothing between you and I. Still you right there under my skin. I've been
Right Right guys, we're into another fish, and I think this time it's on the blowback rig, so if we land this, that's another rig that's done its job for the day. The weather's turned a little bit. We've had a bit of rain the last half an hour, and the wind is kind of changing around direction and stuff. But yeah, the fish are still feeding, so they're definitely liking that end margin. Right guys, hopefully you can see that there. Very small fish, probably only about 4 pounds, but that's on the blowback rig. I'll show you the hook hold quickly. Right guys, this demonstrates why the blowback rig is my favourite rig. You can see that is the blowback rig there, the ring on the shank there, but look at that hook hold. It is right through the centre of the bottom lip, and that fish was never coming off. So yeah, happy days. I think I might give the knotless knot another try, because I've only got 2 rods on the rests now, and we lost one on the knotless knot, so I'm going to put a knotless knot on, try and catch on that rig as well. And yeah, let's see what happens for the rest of the day. Right guys, I literally cast out the knotless knot like I said I was going to, and 5 minutes later it's absolutely ripped off. I wish I'd got the take on camera for you, because it was really a real belter, but it's been raining, so I've been keeping the camera indoors, in the bivvy I mean. But yeah, this fish is swimming towards me now, strangely. Not a big fish, but nice to get one on the knotless knot after we lost one earlier on that rig. So yeah, hopefully we'll get this one in, and then I'll show you the hook hold and everything, and then we've only got 2 more rigs to go after that. Oh, he doesn't want to give up. Here we go, this time. Nope, no, still doesn't want to give up. Proper angry fish, this one. Yes, get in. Right guys, so you can see, hopefully you can see, that is the knotless knot rig there, and the hook hold isn't great, to be fair. It's sort of in the corner of the mouth, it's sort of turned round on itself a bit, but you know, it's not bad, but it's not nailed like the blowback rig was. I think those little tweaks that you do with the blowback rig, you know, the ring on the shank, the kicker and everything, it just helps get a better hook hold, less mouth damage and less chance of losing fish. But the knotless knot has done its job, it's caught us a fish. But yeah, I think there's better rigs really these days. The knotless knot does work, but it's a little bit basic, and you're probably likely to lose a few. Right guys, here it is, another nice little dark one. Probably, you know, 10 pound or so, like the other fish have been really. There's a lot of fish this size in this lake, but nice and dark, and that's nice to see, because they used to be really pale in here because it's like a clay lake, but they are darkening off nicely, so in a few years when they're a bit bigger they're going to be really nice looking fish. But yeah, that's 4 fish now. 4 of the rigs have done their job, so I think we've just got the clone rig and the KD rig left to go now, and that'll be all 6 rigs have caught us a fish today. So yeah, hopefully we've got enough time left. The light is going slightly, but at least the rain stopped. It was pretty horrible for about an hour, and I didn't really do a lot of filming, but yeah, it's kind of stopped now, and it's still really warm, you know, so for the time of year, that's good. You know, that helps us get a few more bites, hopefully, so I'll get this one back after a couple of pictures, and yeah, hopefully those last 2 rigs are going to go before we have to go home. Right guys, we've had another tow. I'm not sure which rig it's on. It's either the clone rig or the KD rig, but either way, that's another rig, and my right hand rod is beeping as well, so I'm not sure if it's a double take or whether it's just gone around the line or what, but we will have a look in a second. But let's get this fish in first. Feels a little bit heavier than the last one. Interestingly, there's loads of ducks on top of the spot. I don't know if the fish have been kicking up oil off the bait, and the ducks are sort of feeding on bits of food that are coming up to the surface. But the fish certainly aren't put off by the ducks being there. It's quite shallow water over there, it's only about 5 foot. And there's a lot of ducks, like maybe 100. And yeah, the fish aren't bothered. Looks like a nice fish, this one actually. Here we go. Yes, get in. Right guys, so the clone rig has done its job, and hopefully you can see that's actually quite a good hook hold. It's about 1.5 inches back in the right hand side of the mouth, and yeah, that was never coming off, so I'm quite happy with that as far as hook holds go. And yeah, only the KD rig left to go. Right, as you can see, the light is going, guys, but it stopped raining long enough that I can show you this fish. So yeah, really happy with that one. That's at 16 pounds 4 ounces, taken on the clone rig, and that's the first time I've ever used that rig, and I was quite happy with the hook hold. So maybe that's one to consider if I am going to use kind of a stiff rig of that resets itself. The Danny Fairbrass sort of IQ D rig, that worked well as well, and yeah, the clone rig has worked nicely as well, so happy days. Only one more rig to go, the KD rig, and that'll be all 6 rigs that have caught. And I did lose one on the knotless knot earlier, but I've sort of redeemed myself with that one. So I'm sort of proving that all the rigs are working, and it's just the KD rig to go. So I'll get a couple of pictures of this fish and get it back, and hopefully before it gets dark we can have one more, because I do want to be off home before dark. It's pretty miserable and wet out here, and yeah, it's cooling off a little bit now as well. Right, that's it guys. If we land this fish, that is a fish on all 6 rigs. I'm not sure how big this one is yet, but it's nice playing it without any other lines to worry about, because the other rods are lent up against the bivvy. Doesn't quite look like a 20 pounder, but that's a nice double, I think. Yes, get tune. Right guys, the last fish. Unfortunately he's got a bit of a deformed mouth there, as you can see. I've not seen that before, but you can see that's the KD rig there. It's actually got him nicely in the bottom lip, so yeah, pretty good hook hold. I've actually done quite well on the KD rig in the past, and don't know why I don't use it more, but I do feel like my blowback rig seems to catch me lots of fish, so I don't need to change, you know. But this just shows that all the rigs do work. So I'll quickly get him up and show you, and we'll get him back. Right guys, an odd little character that one. Again around about the £10 mark. Got a very sort of odd shaped mouth on him. I guess he was born like that. It doesn't look like it's actual mouth damage. I think he's just, unfortunately, a little bit different to other carp. But you know, it's nice catching any fish really that comes along. And this is the last fish of the session, and it just proves that all of those rigs do work. You need to stop worrying about what rig you're using. It's not the rig that's stopping you catching. It's more down to location and bait really. As long as your rigs are tied well and your hook's sharp, don't worry too much. If you've caught on a rig before, it'll work again. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video guys, and I hope this has sort of shown you that you don't need to worry about rigs so much. There's no point carrying on. I've done what I set out to do. I've caught 6 fish on 6 rigs in a day session. And yeah, well done to the competition winner as well. And stay tuned on my channel, make sure you subscribe, because there's another competition coming very soon, just before Christmas.